Stages. We're in the winners bracket. We're playing Gen G and T1. So without further ado, let's get to it. These teams were duking it out all season long, apart from the time where Faker had a little hiatus for his injury. Super happy to see Akali finally. Akali is one of these champions that should be thriving into the control mage metagame. She also had a couple recent buffs, so she's going to be doing okay. That change to her energy management in the early game, allowing her to get that extra Q off, is huge for her laning pressure. So we'll see if Gen G is able to do that. We also have Jarvan versus Kha'Zix. Now, Kha'Zix is something that has been a little bit scuffed compared to where it was in June, July. Much weaker, although it is a Duskblade abuser, and they are going for a super high damage composition to pair with the Rumble. This is something you see very commonly. You either want something to hold people down for a long time so that the equalizer can burn them down, or you want someone that's like, all right, you've chunked everybody, I want to be able to jump around and kill everybody, and that's exactly what Kha'Zix does in this lineup. They also have put together Xayah Rakan, which means that they'll have a winning bot lane. That being said, the answers from T1 is kind of the meta all-stars here. Everyone but Aatrox. Aatrox is very solid. It's fine. Not on the same tier as Rumble, though. But they're able to get Orianna Jarvan, which is a very easy-to-play combination. And they have Alistar Kai'Sa. Korean teams have been very, very good at spacing in fights. You're going to see them fan out in a position where all of them can deal damage. You tend to see this kind of formation where you have carry, and then another secondary carry, or someone like the Rumble in this position with tanks around them if they're playing front to back. In this case, you might see some more flanking angles from Rumble. Now, something that we should keep an eye on is this Ignite over here, picked up by Rumble. Is indicative that he really wants to take over this lane, wants to take this advantage. Aatrox is notoriously weak for the first 4 levels until you start getting cooldowns on the passive and on the Qs. Faker taking it to Chovy right here, as many auto attacks as possible. Notice how Akali, by the way, is not using her potion right now. When you have Doran's Ring and when you're playing Second Wind Revitalize, those are empowered by being low, okay? So you actually want to be lower before you pop that potion. You also want to let the Doran's shield do more work. So you're going to see her sit onto this as long as possible. She knows that Orianna does not really have kill pressure here until she gets just a little bit lower, and then you start going, especially once you have 2 or 3 ranks into Q. That's when it's going to be a little bit more dangerous. This bot lane Xayah Rakan, super synergistic, obviously. They will have the push here. We'll see if they go for a Cheaty recall, going for a 4th wave crash, pairing up with Kha'Zix going to the other side of the map. They did have full information of Jarvan starting on bot side, so they may still be comfortable staying on this side of the map. We'll see how they decide to play that out, whether or not they want to go for a rebound or not. Doran stepping up pretty far with knowledge that J4 could easily be in this vicinity. Taking a really bad trade, also doing it in the face of Aatrox hitting level 4. So using that level up timer. And see Kha'Zix versus J4. J4 does win this. If they were going to duke it out, it would be J4 favored. So he's going to go ahead and use the smite plus EQ to get out. Nice smooth combo. We'll see if Kha'Zix paths through mid. We see Rakan coming over. We saw this yesterday, all right, versus a kill lane or anyone that might have all-in pressure against you. Rakan can come over while your Xayah recalls, and then you get the best of both worlds where you have pressure for this, but where it's being answered this time by Alistar. Very good scouting by T1. We're going to get the upfront damage. It looks like Delight's going to bite it. No, uses flash to get out. Now Gen G is stuck in a really tough position. Peanut's going to get soloed out by Faker. Singled out by Faker, I should say, and owner chases. This is going to be a very deep hole to get out of. Now also, check out top lane. We've got a freeze with Doran having the advantage here. You know what they're going to do? They recognize that with Aatrox having teleport in 19 CS, he doesn't want to have to deal with Aatrox coming back to lane with 2 longswords, so he's going to try to shove this out, not have to deal with a teleport. This is the downside to playing with Ignite. But talking about that fight, you saw those rotations and the answers, and ultimately it came down to who's there first, who's there most. So you get there first, but then you give up a little bit of extra pressure. You allow Alistar to come out. The fact that Xayah took her recall meant Kai'Sa was able to push freely. That allowed Alistar to come join the fight, and T1 takes a huge advantage to start the game. So this right here, what we were talking about, this ignite versus this teleport means that the threat is always going to be that Aatrox might find a way to sneak in a recall and find an item advantage. We talk about checkmate in these lane states. We'll pause for a second to talk about this combination. Beautiful upfront damage. After all, it is Rakan though, so he is able to get out, but they have more than enough. Kai'Sa happy to come over, not greeting for the wave, saying, yo, no, I want to make sure that we win this fight. The wave's fine. I'll come over. I'll still get experience to help out with kills if it goes that deep. But the checkmate positions are when you have an item or a threat advantage and a lane that's coming back to you, right? And then there's no real good answer. There's nothing that the opponent can do, all right? Those of you who play chess, we call that zugzwang, when there just is no move. Every move that you do is worse for you, right? And in that case, you have to be very, very careful against an Aatrox with teleport. Yes, you're the stronger laner, but if he sneaks in a recall and he's able to get components for Hex Drinker, he's going to be very happy going into this. You might even see Merc Treads, although probably not against this team. We'll see. Maybe sometimes they even just go with the Null Magic Mantle and say, I'll just sit on this amount of MR, not slow down my build any more than that. But many times you're going to see the early Hex Drinker that allows them to play for the all-in. Now, very, very careful. Ignite is up, but Flash is down. We'll see how much attention Jarvan pays to this camp. Peanut going to play on the opposite side of the map. This is something we always want to see. Enemy team is strong here. Go be strong here. You don't need to answer everything they do. You can counter it. Rumble picking up early plated steel caps to play against that double AD lane, plus the fact that we've got the Kai'Sa as well. The only threat on their team is going to be Orianna, and you have two assassins that are happy to threaten her, especially once you get that equalizer. If it just touches her, that could be enough for Akali or Xayah to take her out. Dragon secured for themselves. Not a great prize. Obviously, the Flash is going to be something meaningful where Aatrox can create tremendous advantage from this if he's able to continue the pressure. What I don't like from Owner is that he's come down back to the bot side. This is going to relieve all the pressure from top. So unless they have some sort of tempo plan that they can execute on, potentially preparing vision for the Rift Herald, then I don't like this combination here. Jarvan finding Kha'Zix, level advantage 6-5, gets the easy kill. This is looking heavily T1 favored. If Gen G is going to win this, it's going to be on the back of superior singular play here and the fact that they've got these assassins and the strength of Rumble right here. This is the biggest rift that they have. Like Orianna, just much higher on the tier list than Akali. Akali's good into Orianna. You're happy to play that matchup, but it's just, is it going to contribute enough to the fights? We'll see. And then on the rest, Xayah, Rakan, just the insane synergy. So we'll see. These two champions have to jump in. Then we're going to look to synergize with the ultimate from Orianna. I don't see a very great way for Aatrox to get into these fights. Normally you want to have this like hammer to anvil approach when you're playing an Aatrox lane or a Renekton. Someone that can, you're looking for an opportunity to flank with the threat of front to back. But I believe with this double assassin setup, they're just never going to set you up for front to back pushes. We're just going to look for whether or not there's going to be, I mean, there could be split advantage. I don't think that, but you know what? That's kind of tough to say. There's going to be some amount of melee. Rumble just very good into Jarvan in general also, though. We'll see it. We'll see how it plays out. I like these 4 picks. Kha'Zix dutifully cleaning out some vision in the jungle. They had 2 control wards down in that western quadrant. Those are gone now. This is what I was talking about, though, with Owner, relieving the pressure up in topside. I don't think there's any world where they should have given up this Rift Herald. All right, Alistar roaming over into the river. Kai'Sa's alone. We're going to constantly see this. Which of these supports is willing to go? Chovy feeling himself right here. Whew. Big damage. Faker's daring him to come in. Obviously, he cannot do it. If he comes in, then it's going to be the ultimate. So he puts the ball on himself. The Orianna ball gives stats. It's very important to have the ball on yourself versus assassins if you expect that they're going to go in on you. Also, it means that the shield can be cast instantly on you. So that's something that Orianna is trying to do with that bait. Chovy opting to just use the ultimate for some pressure, saying, hey, let me just get a little bit of an HP lead using my ultimate. And that's a totally fine usage, especially with teleport coming back up. You're going to see her try to get the push now. She doesn't want to be in this lane versus these items, all right? We're talking about a significant advantage here. 2,000 gold in the inventory of Orianna means that Akali just needs to crash this. She should not be allowed to do it. She's going to try to use these shadow games, but constantly she's going to have to be worried about Jarvan showing up, and I expect Jarvan to come shadow because Akali needs Kha'Zix to come. All right, and therefore, if they're going to pull 2 people to this lane, I expect 2 people to come in as an answer as well. You see Jarvan sliding over here. Yeah, there we go. See how they're both hovering this lane? It's like it's all coming down to what this lane state's going to be. This is a tremendous advantage, so they're going to try to glean as much from this as possible. In the dark, they go for that play. Wow. And Chovy is able to get away. In a way, that's not something you necessarily wanted to do, right? You kind of wanted to trap Chovy to that lane in that position. I understand that they go for it, and it's actually pretty special that they're able to do so much damage in the darkness. Just blank over there, using the shockwave to pull them into the center of the ball. Jarvan's able to pick it up and continue the damage, but that just sends Chovy home, and Chovy's fine with that. It's like, okay, all right, I accept. I was already screwed. I was already having to back in a really bad position anyways, so now she gets it off anyways. It's not a big deal. That said, you know, considering it for two ultimates being spent, now she can't teleport back to lane, because if Jarvan does hover and they go all in on her again, then she'll be completely stuck. Because of the wave pushing in, she's able to just get her items, slide back out. We'll see what Orianna tries to do in this window. She's still sitting on about 600 gold probably, not enough to go for the full item. They're going to have to stick around with this much money. Now it's also worth noting that these 2 ultimates are going to be down for the dragon. Whereas Akali's is back up. So we have all 5 ultimates available for Gen G. A slight item discrepancy. They're down a Blasting Wand in mid. And they've got an Umbral Glaive to fight against from the Kai'Sa. We've spoken about the different Kai'Sa builds. Umbral Glaive, Serrated Dark. This is an immediate Q spike. There is a way to cancel your animation, by the way, doing this. There are settings that can get in the way, but if you're Kai'Sa, if you press your recall in the middle of your evolution, you can get off. But honestly, I don't know what is the setting that stops me from doing it but allows my friend to do it. I know that it exists. If you guys have an answer, put a timestamp 1240 in the comments and let me know what that setting is that might be interfering with it. But Gumayusi doesn't use it. It's a small thing, but it is the only thing that allows you to evolve if you're in lane, right? So let's say you level up to level 11 and you get like the attack speed one was a fairly common one, where you had Berserker Greaves and Nashor's Tooth, for example, Static Shiv, and you just didn't quite have the full, oh, let's watch this happen. Okay, you didn't quite have the full stacks, but then you hit level 11, your attack speed goes up, you get the extra tick, and that's what gives you the evolution. You didn't necessarily want to evolve right there in lane phase. Because it might cause you to get killed, just like Crown versus Zed, Crown versus Faker way back in season 3. One of the first things I put I put Faker on the map. He wasn't even playing that; he was playing Nidalee. I believe it was Crown that played Kha'Zix, evolved his Q in the middle of the lane. Nidalee saw him stuck in the animation and was like, "Oh, okay, you're gonna do that? Flash jump, boom, kill you in the middle of your evolve." And that was when he said, you know what, I'm just not good enough to play mid lane in Korea anymore. So it's you know, that sort of thing is something that you have to avoid. So obviously doing it in base is going to be better, but this strength is going to be there all game. We'll see if she goes for Duskblade. We've spoken kind of ad nauseum about Collector Rageblade being an option as well. Bottom lane staying against a top laner is always suicide. Well done here by Doran getting that last tick. And all of her resources are down now. That's ultimate, flash, and cleanse. Normally you want to get out of that situation as an AD carry. You never want to be in it. Obviously they didn't have vision of the Rumble. Thought that she had a moment. So props to Gen G for getting that proactive rotation. But this is the prize you get. Having the first rotation to mid, you put Rumble in the bot lane. You get a solo kill versus enemy AD carry. That gets them off the map for 40 seconds. That is a fantastic prize. Not only that, but Rumble will be spiking on their items as well. Beautiful last hitting, as we always expect from Chovy. Can't remember the last time I've seen Chovy miss a last hit under turret, which means that he's definitely going to miss one like immediately. We're going to see it. That's just the way it is. It is a high pressure game. We don't fault him for it, but it's just so clean when they're able to do it even under pressure, even at this stakes against their most hated rivals. All right, 500 gold lead, fairly meaningless unless we can find a difference in completed items. We've got Night Harvester versus components. Now, these are two of the highest spike components or half items in the game. So that's going to be okay for Aatrox, but they're still never going to want to face off into a Rumble ultimate here. Love how Orianna is using very proactive ultimates here. Not looking to try to get the perfect one, but just saying, all right, let's get a damage lead. Who knows what's going to happen coming out of that? They end up securing the kill for themselves. Jarvan jumping in immediately to follow means that this Herald is theirs. Now, Kha'Zix's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. Are they actually going to try for this? They know that Rumble's quite strong, and we're missing Kai'Sa and Orianna ultimates. So this would be Gen G. All right. I like that they got away from this. It would be insane for them to want to do it. It would be confidence, and I guess it would be inspiring that they're confident in that. God, I can't speak. That they are that confident in themselves to take that play. But I don't like that they even showed for this. Like, what were you going to get? You're always going to be later there. You're missing a champion. You're missing your AD carry at that. Even with Rumble, that damage, look, it's nullified. They're recalling anyways. They just spent all of their tempo to destroy mid. They killed that turret. They came over, killed a Herald. They're all going to be recalling anyways. Baker dominating here, showing the strength of the Orianna. Beautiful dodges. Ludens, also love to see Ludens here. We've seen way too many defensive boot and Leandri's combinations that have just resulted in not enough damage from these champions. Especially from someone like Orianna, where we want to get all that damage up front to lead off the fight so you can get your Jarvan, Aatrox, Kai'Sa, for example, to be able to dive into the team and look for those kills. Now, Shadow Flame is something that we haven't seen second. Normally, we've seen Rabadons. It depends on game script, but there is a world where you consider selling the ring and getting another needlessly large rod, because you want the size of your shield to be massive, right? The shield is one of the buffed items, or one of the buffed parts of Orianna. You want her to be able to give yourself these massive shields going into the fight, especially since Jarvan normally punches himself a one-way ticket. You want to give him that option of getting back out. I would have preferred to see that. I don't mind it in this world where you're pen, right? And you say, I'm the only magic source on my team, especially since we have an Umbral Glaive Kai'Sa going lethality. Since I'm the only AP threat, I can go maximum AP. I don't mind Shadow Flame, but I definitely want to see Rabadon's third. And then you're going to wonder whether or not she survives not having something like Zhonya's available for these assassins. So it's a kind of a tricky spot. Would have preferred to see Rabadon's into Zhonya's. Beautiful movements here. Unfortunately, Faker still gets touched by the Akali. Good choice by Keria, just saying, all right, let me just get this in GTFO. I'll zone this side, let my team get the rest of the way out. Now, looking at the mid-game, 18 minutes in, we're going to start seeing second item spikes. Duskblade, which we see probably the item of the tournament. This is the most OP item that they have. It completely negates some of the downsides of these champions that dive in and go for kills. So we're going to see it all day long. It's just that passive is too good in pro play, right? These champions are supposed to have downsides. Instead, you remove it, but you do need to get that first trigger. So high damage. We've got lethality here. I think they're going to be able to get those first kills for themselves, and they've certainly synergized, right? Going pen lethality. Everything's about that early kill. That being said, against potential split push and scaling threats here, they could have a problem in the end game. If we do get into a drawn out fight, we're going to talk about Xayah being super favored. Kraken Slayers can scale much harder than the Duskblade does. So if you're not able to get that first kill, dive in, clean up, reset, and go from there, then or if you go and spend everything on that first kill and then you cannot consolidate your team fight and regain your position, we might be talking about a field day for the Kazakhs Rumble, even Akali and Xayah. So that is the thing that these guys have in common. Tremendous amounts of sustained damage coming through. Now it looks like it's going to be Morella Namicon from Rumble. I don't know how I feel about this. It's fine. We might even see actually just Oblivion Orb and then skip the Morella Namicon, turn it into Shadow Flame for themselves, breaking against shields, right? We've got multiple shields here that you may want to get that full pen version off of. Also, no one that's really looking to stack resistances. Love to see Radiant Virtue on Alistar. All right, we've seen a couple different items, but Radiant Virtue just being the tank item of choice for the tournament. Hello. I don't think we have milk. No, do we? Yeah, we are out of milk and out of eggs. All right, teleport being used in the bot lane. So this is the one big advantage that T1 has. The fact that they have access to two teleports versus the one, and Baron is on the map. Now T1 has been the most aggressive Baron takers over the history of this game. They look for mid prio and then they slide over and come into the pit from there. With Akali's teleport being used bottom and the fact that Rumble has only Ignite, I expect them to try to find themselves a window here. Smooth play here by Chovy. Still lands the E in response. So beautifully done by Chovy. Buffering the E to land, even though you're getting shockwaved, so that you can come back and get the E2 on the backside of that. So wonderfully done. We see how strong Akali is against Orianna in those side lanes. That is the one weakness that Orianna has in this meta compared to champions like Ahri, other mages, even Victor, who are a little bit more comfortable in the side lanes. They can get away a little bit easier. Orianna does not really want to stay here. She just wants to clear this wave and get out. You don't want to spend any time against this Akali at all. So they've lost their window here. Akali had teleported bottom to fix that wave. There was potentially a chance. And this is what we're talking about. I don't like that Faker's this far out. Even if they're baiting a fight, having to start it off with your own flash. Zayu's Hex Drinker being popped right away. That actually looks like a moss-sized shield. Yep, that is Maw. So yeah, T1 actually getting pulled apart. They're the team with the teleports. They're supposed to be the ones pulling Gen G apart, and it's happening the opposite way around. So I'll give props to Gen G for having quick rotations. Being quick around the map is what's allowing them to do this. It is a tempo rift after all. But this is exactly how we don't want to see this game played. We don't want to see these thrown away willy-nilly. We want to see Orianna push a wave, rejoin her team. We want to see Aatrox in the side lane. He can survive. He's fine against Akali. And he's built for it, right? Because he's got this Maw against these two champions, so he's very happy taking these all-ins against them. Akali, of course, can try to just proc it and walk away and then try to come back. But again, you have double teleport. You want to be the ones that are pulling this team apart. Delight, Rakan being caught out a little bit, but this tanky build is able to re-engage the fight. Jarvan looking to try to get one of these kills. They need this first kill. Delight's still alive. There we go. We got it. But it's in the stasis. Rumble and Akali on the backside cleaning up the fight. They're able to do it. T1 has been throwing away their advantage. I'm going to be honest about it. All right. The fact that Akali teleported bottom. So if we go back 4 minutes and we just watch Akali teleport bot, that's the window where you then have to pull them apart. Say we've got pressure in all the lanes. Will look very nicely done by Delight. This tankier build on Rakan allows you to go for this all in. They get that huge chunk. Equalizer was actually not very well placed, but it was still enough. They're able to get those kills, and you see how they're able to split everyone up and just win on both sides. Genji's just gonna steamroll this game now. They've got the stronger damage on the carries. The composition's allowed to rip through these team fights. If you're T1 against this Baron, you're looking for one pick with Alistar or Jarvan as an engage, followed by an Orianna. Otherwise, this team just never really needs to present a target for you. If there is a weakness from Genji's side, it's going to be wave clear. They only have one ranged champion that matters for clearing waves. That said, it is Xayah, who alongside Sivir is the best wave clearing AD in the game. So she should be able to eviscerate these waves and allow them to get the prios that Gen G will kind of slide into the adjacent quadrants for the push. But Gen G is going to be patient. They're going to let this just come back out, push multiple different lanes. Split push has not been a popular dynamic all year long. But this is the dynamic for it, right? When you just have superior laners, also Akali and Rumble, much better flanking threats than an Orianna. Orianna cannot survive in these side lanes. And again, we're burning teleport to answer a push. I don't like it. Now, Gen G's goal, they've got 90 more seconds. They'd like to get all 3 of these inner turrets done, all right? That's an extra 3k standing gold on the map, plus they get prio into the jungle camps. They should be able to take all of those for themselves. And that's really the goal for this Baron here, is to balloon this lead to about 7k. If they can do that, then they'll be super, super confident. They don't want to give that all-in fight. If you're T1, I love this ward right here, these 2 wards. You put them super deep, not part of the relevant part of the map. You just want to see the rotations. You want to see how they're moving. Generally, you want it here, but I imagine this one was swept. And then you want to try to play for some like tunnel, some little quadrant of vision that you can protect and hopefully kill them on their rotations. Objective completed in bottom. Objective completed in mid. There's only 100 HP left on the top turret. Aatrox is not going to let the minions go. Of course, ever since the mid-season change, if you weren't aware, minions have been recoded. They no longer can be pulled off the turret. Once they start hitting turret, they will continue hitting turret. So you have to, if you want to save your turret, you need to make sure that you step ahead. Sometimes in the late side of the early game, it can be okay to let your turret die if it's denying local gold. But it's such a small amount of local gold compared to what the team's going to get and the map pressure, and you never want to do it with your inner. This is an important way to control waves and an important constant sight line that you have, so you should be absolutely willing to defend this spot. I expect T1 to try to take and keep control of the northern quadrant, but it's going to be very difficult with the lead that Gen G has amassed for themselves. Not just that, but Kha'Zix, Rumble, Rakan, are you ever really willing to jump into the middle of this team? I mean, kind of tough. Nice little poke out from here. Kaisa going for the W evolve next. This is still a very important part of this build for a couple reasons. It gives you access to attack speed, which you need now that you have all this lethality and attack damage. Attack speed is the best thing you can get for your own scaling. Plus, it gives you the 100 AP so that the W will be evolved. We might see something like Zhonya's later, but normally they go for an attack speed item that will then pair with everything. And this is where this build does fall short. It feels really awkward to build from here. Like deciding what to do at this point, where you're like, okay, I've already indexed into my Q evolve. I didn't get my big lead off of my spike on my Qs. Am I really ever going to find this Duskblade proc? Would Rageblade have been better? I think so. Rageblade and Collector should be the build here. There is a world where you could consider selling this and getting the other, but they're pretty far away from that. If you have 800 gold, basically 1/3 of the value of the item is what you're going to need to actually, in this case, like 1100. If you have 1,000 gold sitting around and you're wondering like what is the best thing that I can do for my build, scaling into the rest of the game, obviously getting a new item, building towards a new item is obviously great, but sometimes you should consider swapping out mythics, especially if you had a lethality or pen item early and you want to turn it into a better scaling item for later. Look at this Rakan charming everybody, keeping the entire fight peeled up. You see how they peel one side and then Kha'Zix goes in on the other. Beautifully fought by Gen G. Akali is just going to be unstoppable for the rest of this fight. Baker ends up having to pull away, and your composition folds in the team fight scenario that you thought you were going to be good in. So Gen G, just with a wonderful draft for themselves, has pulled this team apart, and then T1 just not able to make the quick macro plays in time to punish this teleport diff. Orianna will should try to die. Yeah, this is a mistake. Good job by Doran. This is zoning off. So you actually don't mind dying here. And this is something Doran's used to because he played weak side and tanks for so many years. But you are willing to actually be the one that steps up, zone Orianna off of the wave. And by doing that, you deny her the ability of clearing the wave, right? If you kill these minions, then maybe you're able to stall the game until the Baron respawn. by stepping up and making it very clear to Faker that you will die if you stay here. You're chasing him back. The correct play for Faker is to int and clear the wave, right? Buying 30 seconds, giving your team a chance to respawn is your only way in. But in this case, the next wave is already reinforcing. They're coming in. Orianna will never be able to get this, especially not without her ultimate. So beautiful game by Gen.G. Well played, guys. Title, I probably should have changed this. Say Worlds 2023. What's up, Twitch? What's up, YouTube? How you guys doing? Twitter, X, Facebook, LinkedIn. Say hi wherever you're watching from. All right, let me get this game loaded up. All right, you know what? We can do this. We can go straight ahead with. All right, next on the docket, we've got G2 versus Weibo Gaming. All right, beautiful. I heard this game was must watch. Oh, show me. Come on, I want to see it. Show me this rift. Darkness awaits the championship. Those who are brave enough to take it. Grind. The adventure. The journey. All right, that's enough of that. I don't think my voice can handle it. All right, fan out. Yone, super exciting. Yone as an answer to Cassante. Interesting. Yone is going to have the scaling advantage in this matchup. Cassante will try to brick him early. Yone does have that nice 50% split in magic damage from the passive. We're going to see him look for that. It looks like we got a little flex too from Rel going into the jungle. So we're going to have a very easy line to see, right? We have engage number one, bundle them up, then put them together with Rel or Orianna, right? Both of them vacuum cleaner them into one little space, and then this guy will come deal all of his damage, and then suddenly everyone will be in a line and Zaya gets to deal them. So we'll see if this railroad strat ends up coming together. Definitely going to be super punishing around the team fights and the pits if you happen to find that. This is the type of fight where we're looking at these multiple engagers, melees, where we're definitely going to prefer to see Rageblade from Kai'Sa this game. Probably not going to, because we have a Vi. All right, so Vi, Azir, they're going to try to take advantage of this AD/AP mix in mid lane and go for kills at level 6. So look for aggression starting at 520 when Xiaohu's going to look for his 6. If you do miss any experience from minions, you don't get it until the next wave, the 530 wave, so you see it at like 540. Look at this spike up in top. They're going strong. They're going full ham at each other. That's a lethal tempo Yone, the Shy. The Shy, you know, welcome back to Worlds. We're going to see Caps playing against him. I believe Mickey was also on that team. So Mickey X and Caps getting their chance at revenge against the Shy, who beat them in the World Championship, what was it, finals? Last time they were in Korea. So good to see these guys back on this stage. Xiaohu as well. Crisp as well. So a lot of familiar names here from Weibo. You know, this is a team that was built to win. They are that strong. The Shy reportedly is playing like the best top laner in the world. There's a couple people in this tournament who would take offense to that statement, but we'll see. The Shy's got a mission. We'll see how this game goes. Broken Blade, actually a shout out to him, has been playing phenomenally in Europe all year. Seemingly knowing the limits of the extent of these fights better than most of his opponents. We'll see if that's still true on the international stage. Yike, going for this play. Now, Rel has tremendous monster damage, right? The amplification, like 260% amplified damage, means that you can get very good executes if you can test these fights, and your base kit is much better for locking people down. That said, they actually fumble that one away. That's going to be a tremendous loss for Yike, because they went for a path 3 camps into an invade that they still lost, which means that Vi is catapulted ahead now. She's working on her 5th camp and finishing camp 5 before Rel's even on camp 4, which means Rel's going to skip the next and go after this scuttle, then go back into her jungle and maybe go for this kill. Wait, good adaptation? It's super, what's the word I'm looking for? Ambitious. That's an ambitious play. Yike, you got to take a camp. It's got to be now. Vi is already answering. So this is something you can do to any champion that starts Raptors. You can full clear, come back, and you will be there right in time for their Raptors spawn. So anytime that you suspect that they are starting on their Raptor camp, go to the opposite side, start on your red, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, take Scuttle as 7, and then you'll be here right in time for the respawn. So love to see this advantage from Weiwei. They are going to be super far ahead. Caps also down low. We see this a lot from the Azir Orianna matchup. Azir just outranging and dealing so much damage with the early Sand Soldiers, especially when you go this right here. Hail of Blades is the pivotal rune to make sure that you can get that maximum damage. Lethal Tempo, really good for the scaling, of course, but Hail of Blades gets you that advantageous lane phase. Now we have Ghost and Flash down from Kai'Sa. This so Kai'Sa being super flexible is why the prior on her is super high. Unfortunately, I feel like the majority of the games I've seen the wrong build from these Kai'Sas, and I think she actually has a very bad record. I'd be interested to actually compile that and see what those actual numbers are, but I feel like Kai'Sas have been falling, which means that prio on her is probably going to shift, which is good for the people who have been building correctly, because they'll have more accessibility to Kai'Sa, potentially as late as something like Blue 4, probably never going to get there at Blue 4, but even if you could get there on the second rotation and pick up something like Jarvan first, or get one of like the true prio picks, could be interesting. We still haven't seen Ashe. All right, we've seen one Ashe, we've seen one Lysandra. We expect these to be the strongest champions in the game in their roles. We have not seen enough of them, and it's not because they're being banned. So I do expect to see more as we see them win more often. But going into the drafts as we see them, what is going to be Weebu's weakness and strength in the late game? Well, isolating a target, we're going to get multiple pushes. We've got tons of lockdown. Should be very easy for Kai'Sa to rip in the damage because, like I said, of dive, and the fact that you have lockdown, push, lockdown, means that Kai'Sa should go for on hit and deal the maximum damage over time. This is not the game to go for lethality. Unfortunately, most times that we've seen her paired with Vi, they've gone for the lethality build. We shall see. To be told. 500 gold lead here for G2 on the back of just superior laning. This bot lane, Xayah Rakan just taking it to the Kai'Sa. 20 CS in the lead is actually kind of incredible. Was not aware that they were stomping by this much. Be interesting to get more vision on what they're actually doing to accomplish this. But again, Yike being chased out of the jungle. Orianna being stronger at level 6 for an all-in, but Azir getting that scoop, that mobility that you have, the combination of the two can be super deadly. So G2 opts to back out. They're saying, you know what, we can scale this game. We don't care. Any amount of dragons is okay. We're going to be stronger, as we said, this like railroad strategy where you're just going to get this big dog pile. If you ever get it at any point in this game basically ends. Probably most likely at the end of the game, right? The closer you are to the end, they'll just be able to finish off of it. But if you're Weebu, you're going to have to be very, very meticulous with all of your plays. Otherwise, that railroad is just going to run you over. Yike. Only a Giant's Belt going to feel the difference here in their damage in the camps. We see a lot of this when they go for early Radiant Virtues, going for the big scaling for the team fight. You have Yone on just Boots and Dagger, which means he's sitting on a significant amount of gold. We're talking at least Berserker Greaves and Noon Quiver if that's the avenue that he wants to go. He might be trying to survive until he has the full 3,000 to go for a Kraken Slayer, for example, but he does end up getting punished here by on Caulfield's Warhammer too. This is a big deal when you're playing Vi. Oh, beautiful Q flash. Oh, but they split their targets. This is going to be a turnaround. Azir scooping in. Are the soldiers in position? This is the problem with early game Azir. You only have one cast of your Q. If you're maxing W, then you only get one cast of Q and you're not able to reposition. So actually they buy all of that time of Xiaohu moving top, not able to get anything. The one thing that they did get for themselves was a kill on this Vi. Oftentimes we can see Ultimate Hunter, sometimes we see Relentless Hunter, but that first kill post Caulfield's Warhammer so that you get the reduction on the ultimate cooldown. You're going to step up to get this plate. This is actually going to be a shot in tempo. Most times that you stay for a plate, it tends to be an int, especially when you come back to a situation. It is 175 gold. It's super tempting to stay for that. But what is going to be the ripple effect? Herald. So you have to weigh this. I went and I took this plate. But because I stayed and they know I stayed, I can't be back on the map. I don't have my items. They get Rift Herald. Rift Herald's going to give them 300 gold for the kill and another 350 for the plates. Was it worth my 175 to stay for that? Obviously not. So that's something that you always want to be weighing when you're deciding whether or not to get a plate. What is happening on the rebound? Are they just going to get a plate as well? Are they going to get something else because you're off the map? That is something that you have to go, because macro is a matter of seconds. Every time that you make a decision, you have to be thinking about what comes next. What is the answer? Most times that needs to be prepared. It needs to just be ingrained in players at this level, especially, to just know this is what I'm going for, right? This is my prize. This is their prize if I go for my prize, right? There's always going to be some amount of trade-off. Now, something you can do if you're super, super quick with this, the Yone can interrupt dash stuns. Okay, if you're going in your pathing, he can jump into them with Q3 active and deny them. So the Pantheons of the world, the Vi's of the world, even Gragas, when they're dashing forward to you, you can interrupt that with your Q3 cast. So would have loved to see Broken Blade get that off. He doesn't get it this time, but we'll see if he gets any more interactions. Now we're seeing this Leona Kaisa lane just fold to the pressure. Normally you pick Leona as a counter pick to Rakan, saying, okay, if you ever want to jump in, I'm just tankier and I'll just take this fight. But early this new fangled Rakan build, where instead of going cooldown boots and Shirelias, they all have been going Merc Treads and Radiant Virtue, means that early Merc Treads means you don't never die to Leona. Leona locks you up. You're like, sweet, I'm glad that you put any amount of damage on me. I started off with a tremendous amount of health plus the shield. Plus, you're just never going to kill me because I'll jump away. So really like these adaptations to the Rakan builds to be much tankier. It kind of takes away one of his weaknesses that he had in the lane phase. Now, speaking of weaknesses in lane phase, Kaisa, notoriously weak, and is getting punished here. Hansama already having Kraken Slayer. This is something that I do love and I expect to see from most of these teams. If you're not rotating your AD carry over to actually pick up the Herald, the next best thing is to bring the Herald to their lane, right? That is the champion that scales the best with gold on your team. So you almost always want to put it there. You're just not going to get those 5-plate, kill the whole turret plays that you get in solo queue from your Rift Heralds in pro. They're too good at defending. They're too good at matching. So by getting this one down, you get Xayah into a tremendous amount of gold lead. Because she's on the spike, boots plus Kraken Slayer, she's actually comfortable enough to come down here, even against Azir. That being said, you still have to be careful. Level 8 versus level 10. Still a little bit dicey, but the pushing power of Xayah is unparalleled right now. and she's just going to go, and they're threatening the dive if Azir comes for the answer. Yike being pushed off of Scuttle, or being pushed off of a jungle camp for the third time, somehow has still managed to get himself a 1-0-2 and a same level as the Vi. That is kind of incredible, actually. Vi should have been able to run away with this game by contesting Rel at everything once she got off to that tremendous lead early. If you remember, Rel did not take a fourth camp until 4 minutes into the game. That should have been backbreaking. Azir also had the pushing advantage in mid, so they could have played with inside out prio. Everything could have been strong. All right, we see the engage. Hansama able to get the feathers fly. There's no way they're going to turn this though, right? Okay. Overstay in the bot lane. You catch them greeting for this turret. So they get the big punish onto Xayah. Cap's getting himself a plate for the price. We'll see what Yike is able to do if he tries to make a play in the top lane. This is Iceborne versus Yone. Now, Yone is still very strong here. Even against Iceborne Gauntlet, you have those extra stacks. You're able to get the lethal tempo going up. You still can deal tremendous advantage. It is important to continue the trade, though. You want the full value of your lethal tempo to come in. That right there, inexcusable that she didn't let the feathers fly. That ult was landing on your head. There's no reason to ever get caught there. Now, G2 is still a little bit of a gold lead, but expect most of this to fall down. The plates have gone down, so there won't be any more prizes. I don't like spending any more time down here as Xayah, but you can see that they're clearly trying to create a trap. You see these wards right here by Rakan? This is very much like a Smurf attitude that you can use in these games. If you're smurfing, you have a lead in a lane, go ahead and get a deep ward behind them and just catch them as they're rotating over to that lane. You know, make them feel super uncomfortable about even approaching their lane state. The pressure does mean that Xayah is able to take the turret, but I expect this to be the last couple of minions that she takes here, and expect her to move over to mid now. Rakan is going to light the way. He's got all the wards down, going to go back to base to refill the wards and get the other half of his Radiant Virtue set up. Or even just Control Ward and Null Magic Mantle. That is fine for now. Now, Orianna, Rel, Yone, how are they going to synergize? One of the things that is a little bit tough about putting Xayah mid here. All right, now I'm not saying you don't want to do it. You always want to bring your AD carry over here because it centralizes the support. It centralizes your damage. It means that they're able to participate. It's also the safest lane, right? There's 3 escape routes, not to mention that you might go into the river. So really 5 different escape routes that you can use when you're an AD carry. That's why you want to be here. Now that people have full items and their boots, level 10s or 11s, huge spikes for so many champions in the game, you cannot afford to be in a side lane. Orianna, I expect to come out, just shove the wave and go. Yone can stay in their lane a little bit longer. We have a teleport. This shouldn't result to anything. Orianna does not have hers, so they potentially have a timer here. Orianna could continue to push, is opting to start rotating over because they don't quite have the teleport. It looks like 15 seconds are still up on that, so coming over right away. We'll see if we end up with a big fight, but let's take a stock of items. We got stopwatch, Randries, boom, done. They have a evolved and completed items here, and these are bigger spikes. I don't want G2 to actually fight this. I would have preferred to see Orianna go and stay in the bot lane. Now coming over, pushing mid, that's fine. You can say, all right, you guys spend time, but we'll push mid. But that means that now they can come in and muscle you out, and you're really putting yourself in a tough spot. What happened? Why did the Shy not get his Q3 off there? Normally you go W into instantaneous Q3. I don't know why he didn't do it. That's his flash and his all out. Whoa. Okay, that's a huge problem for them. But like I said, by coming over, if you thought that they were stronger and you didn't actually want to contest into this vision, which makes sense, like look at this wall of vision they've set up for themselves. You don't want to be face checking into Leona, Cassante, Azir, Vi, right, plus the Kaisa isolation damage. You don't want to be face checking. So why are you even coming here and trying to push for mid? You could have actually continued this wave, got that all the way in. Then you have your teleport still up. Your team, your 4 people could come here. Then you can grab vision of this quadrant, and then you could slide over and have priority for the dragon. Let me just see that real quick again. So normally it's Q. It's just not, so it's Q3. That just missed. So stun W into Q3 should always be automatic. Okay. Oh, is it the Merc Treads diff? It could just be Merc Treads. The interesting thing about Cassante, oh, nice upfront pickup. We'll get this. It's okay that you give up the dragon. Rakan's going to look for these engages, and they're going to get a big gold lead off of this. 2 kills means that they're going to have mid prio and prio for the Baron as well. Cassante, lots of knockups. It feels like he shouldn't be resisted by Merc Treads, but if you go and read all of his abilities, they all have mini stuns attached to them, or stuns that allow other parts to go in. For example, the W has a push and a stun, so if you're able to get out in that case, you get the flash. It looked like Cassante may have even just missed that anyways, but the fact that you have that small, tiny window where you can get out, we're talking about an 1/8 of a second, and that can be the difference between being able to flash and not being able to flash for a fight. You flash, beautiful entrance. Hansama again, slow on the R. As soon as that Q comes in, you just have to throw it. Oh no, Mickey! Trying to block, ends up giving the kill. Wei punching through Rakan to get to Xayah. Good job by G2, knocking up Rift Herald, stopping it from getting the turret. Probably actually would have put it at about 1/10 HP. It doesn't look like it would have killed it from there. The Shy going for another up front. Knock up, chain CC, rooted. Yeah, just locked down. They just keep them in place. Now the multiple man stun there, very interesting. Good job by Leona, realizing that they would pass through that bush. Beautifully placed by Crisp, but they do end up biting it for it. Yeah, that's super greedy. Block. So in 2 ways. First of all, that Q that you threw towards the Vi was never going to accomplish anything. Those feathers you wanted actually upstream. You didn't want them going towards the river. You wanted them up the lane. On top of that, locking yourself into an animation so that Vi can say, oh, all right, you're in an animation. Fine, Q flash. I'm right on top of you. You can't dodge this now. That is absolutely a foul at this level. They can react at that speed. I expect them to, in fact, most times, to be able to react. And if you give them that window, they'll take it. All right, we do see the double lethality setup here from Kai'Sa. I don't like it for this game. It means your team spikes right about now. Your team is looking pretty good for getting this soul. But this one doesn't really do anything. This one doesn't really do anything. You're going to have better cooldowns, but enemy team still has better ult cooldowns anyways. Not to mention, if you're getting into a fight, ults versus ults, they're going to win. So you don't want to get into an ults versus ult fight. So basically, we're getting very little effect. We are going to have the stacking mountain onto Cassante. There is no one else that's really going to be taking advantage of this. But that's just one champion. And this soul, this is still going to be able to rip through that damage. All right, make no mistake about it. They will be able to rip through that. Now, Orianna making sure that she's alive in the fights, ends up picking Zhonya's for herself. I expect to see Rabadon's next. This is interesting. This has to be Spirit Visage. Did Yike not get the memo that Abyssal Mask is on Megatron Cloak now? Or maybe they just want the single best item defensively. We'll take a look at this fight though. Look at the battle lines that they draw for themselves. Feathers Fly comes out early. This is a beautiful zoning tool. It actually functions similar to a Caitlyn trap. You can draw it back and get the crisp. But let's see, we've got the engage coming in. This is going to be a grand melee in the pit. Oh my goodness. All out being pulled to the side. They're isolating targets. This is so good for Weebu Gaming. This is going to be very, very difficult for G2 to come back from. Weebu finding the angle for themselves. The fact that we have defensive itemization here. We've got cooldown, ability haste, defensive itemization, and defensive itemization means that we're not having enough of a spike from Caps. This is something that we have seen from Caps in this tournament, that he goes on these much more defensive builds and has not been limit testing. In fact, I believe we saw them go 404 in a loss in one of the games this year. He's much more willing to take the mature approach, but that said, sometimes you want your team to just be willing to int for some extra damage. Look at that lockup. The fact Yone never got anything off, wasn't stacked up on his Q. Again, did not get Q3 in response to the Vi dash. Means that Vi was able to get everything. The whole team was able to jump onto that. And from that spot, you get everything. You can tell that going into that pit, that they were trying to line them up. It's like, let's get them when they go around the bend. We'll try to bundle them all up. But the fact that Yone was all the way back here and they still had carries here meant that there's no chance of those AoEs synergizing. G2, what are you doing? You've lost mid lane prio. You're down in gold. This is not the Hail Mary to take. Cassante has a beautiful position and ultimate is almost up, but you don't actually want him to ultimate yet. You just want him to be this big shield in the front of the team fight, holding them in. He's just corralling them to this position. Weebu wants this fight. They're going to hold this battle line, and as soon as G2 comes up, we're going to see Cassante step forward. Yike actually diving into the front of the team. It means that there's no peel there. He just dies. This feels like a huge int. Xayah is going to rip through some of this damage. Good job by them to get one back, but that might be it. Like, they're lucky if they get another one here. Another Q flash from Vi. This is a complete wipe. This makes no sense to me. I don't get why teams still do this. You're down 0-3 in Dragons. Dragon does not matter compared to Elder or compared to Baron. Soul is inconsequential. And in this fight, where you just got completely wiped, they all shopped. You see, across the board, these champions are stronger than you. Why? Why are you going for this fight? Try to get yourself later in the game. You can fight for Elder 7 minutes from now. You're going to be fine. Instead, they could have gone pushed up for mid, push up. You can go collect this as an answer. Let them get the soul, collect some money, try to even that for yourself. You're going to have a better chance scaling into the end game for that. I think they tunneled on the fact that, hey, our team's going to be really good in these big fights where we might have these big team fights, but we saw, like, they just fan out. 4 people take a wide approach, and then Cassante takes the opposite, and then just says, all right, we're going to stay wide. What is the angle that you're going to approach us on? That tends to be the problem with these Bronzodia Wombo Combo comps. Very easy at the pro level to fan out in good battle lines. If you guys want to see how to team fight, watch these Korean and Chinese teams fight, how they position, how they avoid what the other team is trying to do. Spirit Visage from Rel, I hate. It is going to amplify the healing from Radiant Virtue for what it's worth. But yeah. I don't like it. Must have Second Wind in the build as well, so they're really trying to amplify and double down on this. Second Wind, or Revitalize, I should say. Revitalize is going to be super impactful because you've got the Rakan and the Orianna, who both might be coming on, getting their shields onto you. Would be interesting to see if Broken Blade actually went Green Tree second. This is a fantastic game for Shield Bash. Looking at it, right, you've got 2 different champions that might be diving or putting shields onto you as a fight is breaking out. That extra stat can absolutely can matter as these fights break out, having that scaling armor. The extra auto attack doesn't really matter. That's more for laning phase, but these shields, you know, those resistances matter. It also makes the shield matter more. We'll see if probably post game whether or not that's something that he opted for. Also, he has his own shield from his W, right? So there's multiple sources that he can get it. And late in the game, when you're talking about 2 shields here, this shield's going to be on like a 4-second cooldown, plus your own. There's a lot of opportunity for Shield Bash to take over. All right, Abyssal Mask, best item on the game is on Cassante. You have 1.5 damage dealers for it, and you get to resist a significant amount of damage from it, even part of what Yone does. So love to see it there. Unlike Summit from game 1, if you guys watched, he built it in a game where there's just an Orianna on the enemy team and just one champion on his team that had it. That's the situation where you don't buy Abyssal. That's where you go with something else. You can even go like Chem Tank or anything, even Force of Nature. But even Force of Nature is like, there's only one person dealing magic damage in the composition. How are you ever going to get the stack? How are you ever going to get the attack, the extra magic resist? It's never going to feel that good. All right, if you're G2, what you're trying to do is control one area of the map. So you want a very shallow line here, and then you want to control one area. This is the best way to stop the mitigations. You're also going to want a control ward on this side of these meatballs. inside your base. You want to be able to see rotations as they're coming. Obviously, you have no chance at winning these fights right now unless you get the perfect situation. So basically, it needs to lead off with, I start CC on one person, enemy team then bunches, and we get some combination of Orianna, Rel vacuuming them up, and like we said, Yone to then spear through them. Maybe we'll call this the shish kebab. Railroad makes sense too. All right, here we go. Couple bundled up. All right, there we go. We got it. Boom. Wombo. They got them all. 2 kills right off the top, going to be there easily. Vi's not going to be able to consolidate this. They have to step back. The Shy even stepping back. I don't like that he's coming forward. There's nothing really to get back here. All the ultimates have been used, so there is a potential for a pick if you can isolate someone. But we're going to see G2 take this 5v3 in the pit. Let's look at their formation. You're going to see Rakan on the outside. Ori's going to stay here and make sure to shield the Rakan. See how they're trying to keep them at arm's length? They don't want to let them into the pit with their ultimates. The fact that they're moving forward means that we're going to get another bunch of AoE damage. They burst for the Baron. We get Broken Blade using stopwatch. They survive. Broken Blade also comes over trying to make sure that they can survive with one pit, but they actually win the AoE fights. The Shy stepping a little bit too deep. Team is not ready for this. Good job by Broken Blade buying some time till his team gets there. Shields come off cooldown. You buy time for yourself, and they actually get the wipe. Weibo gives them exactly what they needed to survive in this game. Oh no. Syncopated recalls could actually be a problem. Xayah, Rakan going to die. They're actually going to say, all right, we'll just die with one. Actually, what happened here? Why didn't they stay for the ride? Xayah recalling meant that Rakan had the free ride home. I don't know why that happened. And was it like, wasn't Landry's burn? There's no like Luden's proc. I don't know what caused that. Let me go look. What deals damage? Wait. That's... All right, G2 should call for a bug right here. They are supposed to go back together. There's nothing that stopped this damage. They should have been able to go in. There's no reason for Rakan to not get the recall off. That's fascinating. Why are they not calling for this? Okay, interesting. Hopefully it doesn't matter. We'll see what comes up. With Elder spawning in 40 seconds, Rakan and Rel are going to have a difficult situation coming in. Azir opted to push top. I don't like this at all. They should have been spending their time creating walls of vision in the southern quadrant because the approach for the enemy team is pretty linear. They're looking at respawning just in time for Dragon, which means that they want to come out. Now, what they should be doing, G2 should be looking to create this push. Obviously, they have a disadvantage here. The fact that there's still standing structures, whereas they're missing theirs right here in mid lane, means that Weibo's always going to have the push prio. Not only that, but if you do have an ending fight here, there is a chance that you can survive on Weibo, whereas there's no chance that you survive. If G2 gets wiped, there are no structures defending it. At this stage in the game, with this many items, we're looking at about 40 seconds from mid lane to go and kill the base, and it's basically gated by the amount of time it takes the wave to get there. Right, you actually step up ahead of the wave. You always keep the minions alive. We'll see if anyone goes for that if we end up with an ace after this fight. Now, those big shutdowns, those were all shutdowns, by the way, going into that fight, means that everyone has spiked on gold. Look at the battle lines here, nice and split up. Oh, I don't like this ahead of the whole team. They're actually going to get another grand melee. Big scoop by Azir, but this is turning into a coin flip. Coming out to execution, beautiful damage out there, but we have 3-2 alive. Beautifully timed by Yike to get this. Now we've got Mickey and Caps going for this. Rel's going to start pushing the wave. Rel cannot contribute. I love this play by Yike. You see how she's already pushing the wave with Baron buff. Caps is going to recall because they have teleport, and they're going to go for maximum structural damage. The first respawn is 23 seconds. Mickey actually opting to stay here. No, they're going to go for Elder. Interesting. Yeah, I guess this makes sense. You're going to have the Elder. You're going to wait for these guys to respawn before you actually go and kill it. And then they're going to try to play out the rest of the game with the Elder buff. But here we go. That was that wombo combo that we saw. This was your best chance. If you were thinking that you were going to contest, that was your best chance for Weibo. You're saying, all right, all your ultimates are gone right now. You're out of cooldowns right now. We still have access to a couple spells. That's your best chance if you want to make that fight. Leaving them behind and then opting to come and contest here felt like it was going to be very difficult. And at least at this stage, like, why coin flip it? Just wait for the respawns. Don't give them all these shutdowns. This is the part that matters. Look at this. Cassante dash here, holding up the lines. We get full engage. 7 champions together. But you see the vacuum, the shish kebab strat right there. Just double vacuum cleaner into the middle of the fight, allowing Yone to pass through them. Tons of damage in one small clump. And Weibo kind of gave it to him, right? Like, if you bundle up, that's how these fights are going to go. So you can tell me, timestamp in the comments, 32:20. What would you have done off the back of those kills? Elder, push, where do you teleport as Orianna? What would you do in that situation? You've got so many options. Big wave was crashing in top. This was on the table. This was on the table. This is on the table. This is on the table. Mid lane as well. G2 opting to go for the dragon buff. They're going to have it just long enough to prepare for Baron, but they won't actually have it for the Baron. I expect them to go for a recall here because they just got 1, 2, 3, and they're going to get this 4th one down with the Elder. Weibo should absolutely give this. They do not want to fight on the remaining portions. There is still a minute left, so they may try to protect the wave here. If you are Azir, you want to already be standing here and kill this wave. This is a miss by Xiaohu to not be there in position to clear the wave, which means that G2 gets the top lane inhibitor. Are they going to step forward? They're really going to challenge them to this. They're saying, no, we don't want to go play for any kind of recall. We want to play for this all in. Rel engage into the front. They get the Azir. That is the biggest priority target they could have gotten. Xiaohu, what are you doing to end this game? You're just trolling your team. They let the wave in. They let themselves get picked. Elder being used to maximum effect. Oh my God, G2 is going to come back and win this game. They opt to hold in. They're going to take the item, the fact that they still have the lead and 10 seconds on the Elder. They get the maximum. Mickey finding another engage means they pop the Kai'Sa. There's no more damage threats left on the team. That means they are going to die. The Shy can never go all out because he will immediately die to the Elder. Burn looking for one type of engage. Can you get one guy to jump in and one cleanup? Elder is gone. The Shy needs to pop his all out right there. He's too late. It's got to be now. It had to be yesterday. Oh, he doesn't even have it. Oh my goodness. Wasn't even an option left over from the fight. G2 getting the maximum from these fights. They are finally going to pull back because Azir is up. Now they have to survive this. Yone's actually going for all in. They're trying to get everything, but it was a double teleport right here. Caps comes in. Is he actually going to be able to end? These are Rabadon's empowered attacks here. There is no Lich Bane, though. He has exactly the 4 items. He's not going to be able to finish. Oh, my goodness. What is this game? Yone also picking off Vi on the back end of this. Oh, my gosh. All right. Leona, Vi, Orianna, Rel all going to still be dead for this Baron. And if they do it immediately, we're also going to have Mickey dead. So it's basically Broken Blade alive, the only one alive on the map. His teleport was canceled. Good job by Weibo to cancel the one, but Orianna was able to get there. Permanent structural damage to the base being done. That you have multiple different options for them for this fight. Love that they're able to find another engage. Rakan holding down one half of the fight while Rel going on to the other. I love that they didn't just dogpile onto one spot. Rakan opting to peel rather than to get layered CC onto one target. Love the Hex Slash there from Yike, aiming one way, facing one way, then Hex Slashing another, hiding your intentions for as long as possible. They're able to get the most out of this. This is incredible that they were able to get that big. Gotta catch my breath. Beautiful fights. I mean, this whole thing, you could do an entire video on just this sequence here. But G2, scrappy AF, right? This has been their thing all season long. Unique style, teleport into an immediate ultimate. It was double teleport onto the wall. There is no indicator, by the way, if you're thinking about that. No indicator to tell you that 2 people are coming to that ward. They show up at the exact same moment, meaning that Azir is able to get the upfront damage. Cap dealing permanent damage here to the inhibitor. Yone getting one as well. But man, this is so close. Look at them just shaking. Just, you don't know what to feel. You just know that you feel. Vamos, Carlos. Carlito getting a little bit excited there. All right, they didn't show us the Baron on the back of that. That feels like a waste. All right, well, it looks like it must have been uncontested. Weibo having uncontested path to the Baron means they get to get this push up for themselves. There were no wards dropped in the base. Important to note. And the amount of time it takes to teleport means that Yone can never like stack Q3 and then teleport to this ward and try to get in. So we're going to see if we ever have a path. Now, I love what Caps is doing right here. A little bit of harass on the backside. They're actually trying to funnel them into this fight. It's taking them away from the push. They're also just the stronger team fight team. So we'll see if they end up getting what they want. They end up scrapping. This is going to stall Baron. Beautiful by Hansama. Immediate, almost frame perfect on the cleanse there. Aye, Mickey. Okay, we got big problems. It's going to come down to execution on the rest of this fight. Yone picks up 2, including the free kill onto Vi. Means that we don't get that tool for the rest of the fight. They don't get the knockups. The Shy trying to go in with all out, but we're going to see Broken Blade just scale through this fight. G2 is going to win the game. Oh my goodness, how did they come back from this game? Weibo Gaming giving them the fight. Dude, look at the fans. They're like, this is quality. This is what we came for. G2 going to skip the turret, deal no damage to it, just go over and collect the Nexus. What an exciting game here played up. The inhibitor's about to respawn. They get the kill 1 second before. Yike thought about inting that fountain. I am just imagining the nightmares that could have happened if Yike actually goes forward and ints the way that he might right here. He was not planning around this, and I would be irate if it came down to it. Obviously in this case it wouldn't matter because we have super long respawn timers. They could walk back, pick up this wave. In fact, the supers would just kill this themselves and end. But you know, that is G2's way. That's their style. I'm gonna let them have it, but it's certainly not the way that I would want to handle things. I would go about my business. I would celebrate after you win in game. Celebrate with the fans. All right, it doesn't need to have this golden moment. But man, what a win from G2. Dragon Soul, just another case in the case study of Dragon Soul not mattering. Comes down, if your team has scaling, you're okay to give up these dragons. You do not need to give. And in this game, we actually saw G2 give so much by contesting some of these fights where they weren't there. They just didn't have prio, or they went in. Yike was behind Vi. They constantly stepped forward, and it just felt like they were giving and giving and giving more. You shouldn't be doing that. When you have this team fight composition, you should absolutely let the game mature. Let yourself get to the spot that you want. Find the picks you want. Get pressure. Force them. All right, great. You got Dragon. Make them rotate over to me under my terms. I don't want to be rotating to you when I have this team fight comp. So hopefully that makes sense. You absolutely want to do that in your comps. When you're playing games, keep in mind, what does my team do well, and lean into that. What does their team do well, and lean into that. Try to create the situation that allows your team to thrive. G2 did it. What a win. And they're going to be moving on to potentially go for a promotion series. I believe they will be playing. Well, we'll see who they'll be playing next as we continue. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for supporting the channel. I'll catch you next time. Peace.